It's better with the mic.
I think oh, this is interesting. I just figured something out while we're live. Okay, I figured it out.
We're 12 seconds live.
Yep. Um, yeah, and hopefully I figured something out. That would be cool if I did. I like to figure things out. All right, so everybody, welcome, welcome to Game On, X's and O's for Life's Playbook. I'm Marnie Schneider, and my fabulous co-host.
And I'm Katie Clark. I'm a dating and relationship expert, but hey, we're both doing life and we want to win at the game of life. So that's why we're bringing you the X's and O's for Life's Playbook.
That's right. And you know what? Because it's like sometimes you have to call, like in football, an audible and just go with it. And that's what we sometimes do here because we're trying to figure things out, technology, life, people, family, relationships, all of it. So yeah, I'm really excited for our show today. We just did a little debrief and let's get started.
Yes. And we are talking football at the end because this is some serious football season right now. So you want to stay to the end.
Yes, that is right. You know, and just on a little quick side note, yesterday, January 25th, was the 43rd anniversary of Super Bowl 15. And that is kind of a bittersweet memory for me because in Super Bowl 15, the Eagles, the team my grandfather owned, the Eagles lost to the Oakland Raiders. In a pretty crappy game if you're a Philadelphia Eagle fan. But what was interesting is that one of the guys that ended up kind of being, he plays for the Oakland Raiders, Rod Martin. He holds a Super Bowl record of 3 interceptions, which is not great if you're an Eagles fan. But for many years, Rod was my personal boogeyman. And I was like, if I ever meet that Rod Martin, and a couple years ago, I had the opportunity to meet him. And of course, because, he is a gracious and wonderful man, we became good friends. And now every year that the Super Bowl, I always say, like, I don't want Rod's record to be broken because, I am a fan of his. And while it was not great for the Eagles, life goes on and you figure out how to recover and move it along and have a good life. So, yeah. January 25th.
See you, Rod. May it not be broken, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this year we don't, right. And so I text with them a couple times a year, and we always text on Super Bowl Sunday and make sure that I'm like, you know what? I don't want your record to be broken, Rod, even though it really was a heartbreaker for me, but that's okay. You'll learn from the losses.
Right. We do. But speaking of learning, you started to share with me about some red light. We're both learning in this health and wellness journey. I mean, my husband and I are definitely much more proactive this year since the year's begun. We've talked about it. Dry January, we did not do well, I have to be honest. Then we talked about some cleansing we want to start doing. But you have really taken some steps to, you're buying some products, you're implementing them in your life. Tell us about this new thing that I want to hear all about.
All right. So the red light thing, and there's so many different things. Like, it's confusing. I am definitely not an expert. I'm like a total beginner, or like they say in football, a total rookie. However, what I was like, let me just try this one. I went on Amazon and I did some research, and it was like this blanket. It's kind of like a sleeping bag, and you get yourself in it. You can, not have anything on, or you can wear, sweatpants or whatever. They even make you they even have like a Mylar blanket that you can wear and then get inside the sleeping bag or the blanket. And then you just crank it up and it goes over your shoulders. You can put your hands out of it, or you can keep your hands in if you want. And you just sit in there and crank it up to like 170 degrees. And it's like you're like a little poached salmon, and you just sit there and sweat. And like, I used it this morning and I could feel it. It was the first time I used it. I was like, am I going to actually get warm? And after like 40 minutes or 35 minutes, I was definitely like feeling. And what they say is like, it is like doing a workout. Obviously it's not like doing a workout, but it is like doing a workout. So after 45 minutes, I had the thing cranked up and I was like, okay, I feel it. It felt good. And like the results, you're supposed to be more energized. We have a lot of energy anyway. People would, do anything to have our energy levels just by nature. But yeah, so it felt really good. And then I used that, and then I ran upstairs and I had a sweatsuit on and, took off my clothes and I was obviously still sweaty and warm, and then jumped in the shower cold and stayed in there for 2 minutes. And what was interesting is that, usually I kind of like crave, but I dread getting in the shower when I know it's going to be cold. But it was like actually pleasant today because I was hot. Like I could feel the heat, different than like a workout hot. It was like I could feel it
Oh.
on the inside.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what they say. It's a heat that it pulls it from the inside out to your body. And confused, are the lights supposed to be good for our skin?
Yeah, I think it like had like like these red light things, like what I've been told and what I've read about is that it can it like gets into the cellular level of
Right.
whatever it is. And so people that have, knee problems or so any sort of ligament or tendon issues or things like that, it definitely can be helpful for that. I'm going to use it with my mom. I'm not going to put her in it like a little sausage. I'm going to open it up and then put it on her, let her just sit on top of it, like lie on it and just let the heat kind of get to her, and then flip it around and put it on top of her a little bit so that she gets a little bit of the benefit of this red light therapy. But I was like, if I can do this for like a month, if this is something that seems like something that I'm enjoying and that's benefit, even if it's not benefiting me, it's not hurting. Like a good sweat never hurts. Like a good cry, a good sweat, all of that is always good stuff. Then I will maybe look into getting, because some of them are very pricey, and I am definitely I don't, I try to be fiscally responsible, and it's like I don't like to have habit like buy like I don't want to buy
Right.
into something and then have it just be another project that I look at and be like, oh, that was a waste.
We know that erg machine, who's using it? So question, what is like the average price point that you've kind of sussed out?
So this one was like 220, but I
Okay.
mean, some of them, I mean, some of them are more like $1,000. And I don't know if you get that much more from that. You might get more heat, and it might be like a better delivery system of like the gadgets. Like this is pretty
Yeah.
basic. It's like an old fashioned electric blanket kind of maneuver, or contraption. And some of them I think you can probably operate on your cell phone and things like that. But I felt like the buy-in for $200, I was like, you
Yeah.
know what? That is my Valentine's present to myself. So I was like, I'll do that, and it was so we'll see. I felt like it was really good.
So I want a few more of the details. So you literally lay it on the ground, you put a mat down, put it on some carpet. It's not going to get through. You have to plug it in somewhere,
Yes.
correct?
You plug it
Okay.
in.
And does it have a full big zipper like a
It
sleeping
does.
bag?
It's literally like a sleeping bag. So the only thing is that, like, so you put it over your shoulders. It's like a bib, what it is, like a baby sleep sack.
Okay.
Like the babies have like a sleep, like it's over their shoulders, and then right there, I'll next time I'll show.
Can you
And then,
read? Like,
oh
let
yeah,
me
you can
see.
put your arms through it. There's a
Okay.
zipper on each side, so you can be cocooned, or you can open up the zippers, put your arms through, and then zip it back up. So it's, and then you put it up around your neck, and it's over your shoulders and all the way down to your feet, and then so it's like you're all cozied in. Now I
But
sat
you can
on.
sit. Can you sit with it
Oh
too?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's it's
okay.
it's soft. It's like it is like just like a sleeping bag. So
Okay.
I sat on the sofa, and I sat there with my mom, and she was there watching TV, and I just sat there on the couch, and I had my phone, and I was doing stuff or whatever, working on some projects, and then I had the sweat happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can go now inside when you say, I mean, you could go in naked. Can you wipe it down? Is it
Yes. And they
okay?
give you wipes like this, so they give you wipes when you buy it. But you can just use like a Clorox or whatever wipe. I mean, I don't really use those. I use like a more organic version of it, but anything, yeah, you could do anything to wipe it down. Yeah. And
Okay.
it's pretty simple. Then you just unzip it, kind of wipe it down. I mean, I had clothes on today. I still wiped it down, but it wasn't like drenched on the inside. But what I'm curious about is, those Mylar blankets. Like, when people are maybe camping or if
Mhm.
they're runners, they'll put that
Yep.
that
Put it on.
Mylar on.
Yep.
So you probably know because you were a runner and athlete.
Yeah.
So you can get like a Mylar wrap and then get in
Okay.
there, and that probably, I mean, like I remember when I was younger, my mother used to take saran wrap and wrap her thighs in saran wrap and put her pants on, her sweatpants on, and then go ride her exercise bike.
Oh my goodness. This is
Yep.
before like the Kardashians created all those, squeezing outfits, whatever it's called. Those
Yep.
I don't own them yet. That's my fear. Like the day that I have to buy, what are they, Skims or
Skims. Yeah. No. Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
other brand. I don't have a pair yet, but how crazy. So no, I need a actually Valentine's Day gift. My husband's like, "What do you want?" Of course, there's nothing I need, but I keep saying that I want to get more healthy. I've thought of getting one of those. My girlfriend has one. It's like literally a pop-up tent. She gets
Yes.
inside the pop-up tent. That
Yep.
seems a bit bulky. Again, larger location size needed. So I like this blanket idea. And
Mhm.
I've seen them too, the ones that go on your faces. I mean, you're
Right.
gonna have to lay down and the reason I'd want to get one is to slow myself down, to be
Yeah.
stuck inside. It's like when I'm on an airplane, I'm stuck and I get
Uh-huh.
so much work done. I mean, people are like, okay, that is the one girl that has the light on doing all this work. I think a blanket like that would slow me down. I would think the heat kind of, I mean, do you work on your breathing? Is it like relaxing or is it uncomfortable?
No, it's very comfortable. I mean, you feel it. Like I felt it like up here, which was good. It was comforting. I sat there, it was 5:30, 6 in the morning. I get up really early and that's like my time. My favorite time of the day actually is like that early time when the sun is rising. And I sat there and I was my, it's a very therapeutic time for me. I usually do my gratitude journal then
Mhm.
and start to work on some things. And I, can look outside. I live on the lake, and so I see, animals out there. And but today was like, and again, it was really very it was really comforting. It felt like um it was just a little tiny gift to myself, like a couple
Yeah.
little things. And I'm pretty healthy, but like, you know, I'm slowly trying to integrate some more routine, like a
Right.
magnesium tea at bed and doing this in the morning and things like that. Like, and there's a great magnesium tea that I have ordered, and it's really good. And I've been trying it, and I actually think it really does make a difference
For sleep or for what
for
exactly?
sleep, the magnesium. And then I was reading this article. Now, I don't think I have any body odor. I mean, I've never been told I have it, but apparently, when people that do have body odor, magnesium is just a homeopathic way to get rid of it. So that's really interesting too. Like, and if as you get older, like having magnesium helps you with sleeping, it helps you with going to the bathroom, it helps you with a lot of things. And so, yeah, the magnesium tea. I have this magnesium powder that I'll we'll link this up. I'll put all this stuff on our Game On Instagram page. The magnesium, the blanket. I'll do a little story and yeah, and it's been really, and now I call like my nighttime routine, like instead of having a cup of tea, I'm like, I'm teeing. Like that's what I'm doing. Like it's a verb. Like I'm teeing.
Very cute. You should put all these in an Amazon list and then link it, and you can get an associate, you can get a little cutback. But really, I have a bunch on my dating site, and it's like for outfits to wear, for men
Uh-huh.
to like make their houses look nicer. Because look, at the end of the day, I'm going to send you the link anyway. So I actually have a whole thing on
But
mine.
how do you do? I mean, okay, so that's something like that's good. Like I want to talk about side hustle for people because I feel like it's such a passive way to get income when we're already being, out there and talking about things. How does one set up an Amazon, whatever it is, attached link thing?
Oh, I mean, I have to be honest, I don't love the Amazon app. I think it's a little confusing. For me, it's overwhelming. There's too many options, too many buttons. But literally, if you just go to your Amazon, there's this thing that says lists. We don't look at it because we don't use it. But look, if you look at mine, you see that word
Uh-huh.
lists
Yeah.
right there. It's right
And then
there.
you just put it in there, and then people actually can that's how all right, that's interesting. All right,
It
well, I'm
takes a
gonna
minute, but and you don't get a whole lot. But my girlfriend taught me that you actually, because of cookies, so she has a list, and whenever people buy something from her list, if there's anything else in the purchase,
Mhm.
she gets a commission off that, even though it wasn't exactly in her list. And then she gets a commission off the next 24 hours of anything that person purchases because of cookies. So
Oh,
that's a whole
interesting.
nother element. We are definitely not tech experts, but here's my deals. I am always giving recommendations. I'm always telling people where to eat. I'm always telling people what to buy. I literally saw my client the other day and he's like, Katie, these are my favorite shoes ever. I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, okay. You have these black Chelsea boots on. He goes, no, I got them off your Amazon list. I'm like, well, that's great to know. And he had the fun socks from my Amazon list. He had the pocket squares from my Amazon. I mean, I have cologne on my Amazon list for these guys. It's not cheap. The cologne that women love is not cheap, but
No.
it just gives direction. I mean, there's so many options. And again, it's like if someone's done the work, you're always so grateful that they have. And I know on Instagram they have like to know it. I don't like to know it. It's too exhausting for me to figure that one out. So
Right.
I
Yeah,
just
that's a lot. Yeah.
Amazon lists are great. I have my favorite books I put on there. I just have created a few in the past that really are just special to exactly what I'm doing in my business relationship, helping men and women like just 2.0 themselves. But it is side hustle, period. This is one thing I learned. My kids are now out of the house. And because of my own side hustle, which is basically my current job, it used to be my side hustle. Matchmaking was my side hustle. And I used to work in retail as my consistent job. The beauty of it was I was working with women, like get in my database. But now with it being my real hustle, I've had to Google so many videos on how to link my Flow Desk with my Zapier, with my Shopify. I just want to pull my hair out. But we have to grow up. We have to do some of the research because I've let I've hired people to do things and then they leave me or they are not doing it anymore and I don't know what to do. Then I have to hire someone else to figure something out. So I really encourage people. Everything is on a YouTube now. Everything is on a YouTube video. I swear, if you want to know how to click open your pen, it is on YouTube and 3,000 people have watched it. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
So I've really had to kind of grow up and just hunker down. My kids are not at my house anymore, but I'll tell you what, when my kids are home, I'm like, $50, come here and help me. And they're like,
Mhm.
okay. And I have my list ready to go for when they're present that I get stuff done. And I've also done the payback where if I'm hanging out with my aunt or I was with my client yesterday, he did not know how to heart his favorite photos. There's a lot of little details that our older friends and family don't know how to do. So I always take a minute and try to say, like, do you know how to do that? Like, do you want me to show you? Because I wish my kids would say that to me, right?
Same. I know. It's like, well, that's even today. Like I was like, wow, I'm so proud of us for figuring out how to do this. Like, look at that. Like, oh, we're growing up here. Look, it's pretty impressive. But again, also, because it's just like I don't like to mess things up. Like I want to, I don't like, it doesn't feel good for me to mess things up. And I feel like that's an okay part of my personality. It's a good part of my personality. But again, it's like, that's like trying to figure out things with technology is like, oh, I'm going to mess it up or whatever. And now I realize I'm like, I'm probably not. So I'll just try it again. I'll just look silly squinting because I'm not wearing my glasses and I can't see anything.
Well, and
So that's that.
it's crazy because even side hustles, like things that I don't think should be making any money, and everybody knows about the kid who opens presents.
Right.
This kid opens presents and hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of people are watching this, and that kid is making so much money. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and I have a YouTube channel that aligns with my podcast. You can either listen to me or watch me. And I just need 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And of course, every podcast, I'm like, subscribe. But I don't get monetized until then. And even then, it's not really till you get the big numbers. But my girlfriend said her son jumps on a trampoline and he's got thousands of views. And none of it's that amazing, but it really tells you what younger generations are doing. They're not watching TV, they're watching YouTube, they're watching these short snippets, they're watching people who are doing things that look fun or they would never do. Or so my educational relationship videos aren't getting quite as many views as I would like, although I do. This is interesting too. I have one called Where Are All the Good Men At? And literally, I was talking with my therapist, and all the people, hundreds and hundreds of comments are all from men. It was made for women, right? Where are all the good men at? And it's hundreds of cranky men on it.
What are they saying? What are the cranky guys saying?
Everything's negative. I think now in this digital age, your shadow work, all these inner things, you just come out and you just can be a keyboard warrior, even though it's not really a warrior. You're the opposite of a warrior.
Yeah,
You're just a wimp, the keyboard wimp. And yeah, they're just these cranky men that are like, here's another stupid lady telling women where to find a good man, like there are any good women, right? It's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're still in your mom's basement. You attract what you are. Good luck.
it's really weird that people are so mean and think that that's okay.
Right. They're just
Right?
angry. Hurt people, victims, unhappy with their lives. Like, I'm good. I'm so good. And it's like they don't like seeing that, but that's that's their space to fix. And I honestly think 80% of people out there do want to play the victim game. They want to play the
They
woe
do.
game, but we're not that. And the people who watch us are not that. They're like, okay, I'm getting this red light thing. I'm getting healthier. I'm working on relationships. I'm getting me a side hustle. And one of the things I had to share with my girlfriend, if you are going to get a side hustle, and I think this is a great topic for today, we kind of veered off, but I love it, is that my girlfriend's trying to be a coach. And she's like, there's a million coaches out there. So who would I coach? I said, you coach who you used to be into what you've now become.
Mhm.
So when I was trying to figure out what kind of matchmaker I was, I realized that my life story is what people want. So I was a single mom with no finances, but I was dating really well, great guys that were strong financially. Like, how did I get there? And how did I get to this? Now I'm married, super happy. That's what women want to see, how you came from that to this. And that's your niche market. That's what you are to teach. That is your side hustle.
Yes, because they want they don't know how to execute necessarily to get to that level, or to
Right.
be there. And it's interesting, talking about coaches. My mom was obviously my best coach, and there was definitely a void since she's gotten sick, and I don't have that. So it's interesting. It's like when, with your friend, I think sometimes coaching, there's all different, there's different kinds of people, of different kinds of coaches that somebody would want. So like somebody might just need a more like what we believe we are, which are, your cheerleaders, is giving you some basic
Right.
broad strokes to having a really successful, very fulfilling week, day, life, whatever. And we can certainly go deeper, but this is just the broad strokes for life's playbook. And then there are some things that like coaches that, they really need to figure out, like they know you're a good talent, but how do you continue to do that? How do you continue to improve your skills and so forth? So it's really interesting. And then again, like you said, people want to model somebody, they want that. So whatever coach they want, or whatever person they want to work with, they want somebody that's been there, done that. Like, I will help you, I will lead you to this, because I've already done it. This is where I've been, and I know how to get there, and I will show you what the tools that you need to do that.
Well, and I think I wrote some ideas down because even as you were talking, we get people curious. Because I'm a curious bird, you're a curious bird. I mean, I'll drive around and be like, what was that? Turn around and like, oh, that's a cool restaurant, or oh, look at that park over there. And not everybody does that. So because of our curiosity, we peek it at other people. And that's just the first start. We're definitely not the experts. We never claim to be. But then I think other coaches are there to get you more detailed, more focused on, do I need it? Is it good for my life? Where can I be going with that? I mean, look at, things like for cool food venues. I mean, Eater's great. You've got Yelp, so we need that broad scope, but then someone we know who's got a little bit more refined palate. Because I don't go to Eater very often, or I don't go to Yelp very often, because it's not a very refined palate perspective. Then you've got the Michelin starred guy, then you've got so it's nice to have kind of the more focused and more niche markets of things.
And yeah, and everything. And again, it's like, and I always say this to my kids and other people, like whenever I'm speaking, I'm like, everyone's definition of whatever is different. So because their experiences are different. So somebody might say like, oh, this is a really good restaurant. And you have to, my mom would always say, like, consider the source, like whatever it is, consider the source. And so then you'll have a better idea of like where you're headed, what it is, all of that, because you can identify where the source is coming from, and then know what that's gonna, what that's gonna look like. And oftentimes, it's pretty spot on, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was, let's just consider that our second, what am I, not second down, our second quarter. That was our second quarter. I love it. Well, the next thing we were going to talk about, and tell me if you want to go with this, is like texting. Does it help or hurt
Yes.
relationships? Or how does it? It helps, and it hurts relationships. So I want to bring this up because I was reading and I just want to bring this up too because of football. I was reading a little relationship expert talk about like 6 sexy texts you can send your husband, right? And one of them was, "Hey babe, if your team wins, I'll meet you in bed tonight. But if my team wins, you can meet me in the kitchen." Right? So what a great way, what a quick, fun text. I mean, you could say that audibly, you could say that early in the day if a game is going on or whatnot. But texting can be such a great way to build a relationship, build excitement about something, build tension, good tension, but it can also build really terrible tension if there hasn't been a response. Gosh, there's so much to texting, the nuances of it, but it can definitely help or hurt things.
Oh, for sure. And so much of it is tone. And if you don't know the person, then, and if you, in business too, like if you don't know their behavioral patterns, if you don't know their tone, if you don't know, then it could be a very strange situation. But certainly, but I always say, like with texting and with life for the most part, like certainly texting, like keep it light and breezy. Like
Yeah.
long texts about whatever. I'm like, I don't want to read that in an email. I don't want to hear it, but like so just keep it light and breezy. Like I always say that like texting is really only for like, I'm going to be there soon, I'm running late, or I love you, or the check is on in the mail or whatever. Like that's pretty much it versus really having heavy dialogue with texting because
Right.
the tone can be misinterpreted and then you don't know what they're thinking and you don't know what you're thinking, and so all of that kind of stuff, like it's definitely, now I've done dumb text before in my life where I've sent way too much words and and gotten too emotional and things and whatever else, and now I'm just like, all right, that's texting is really only for very short things and like I love you, some cute emojis, and that's it.
Emojis are huge in setting the tone too. So if you are trying to relay something, hit an emoji. It never hurts. But don't do too many emojis and don't do just emojis. I did have an ex-boyfriend that would always give me 3 emojis because once you put the fourth, it gets small. So he'd always send like heart, heart, heart. He
Oh,
would
that's
never
cute.
respond with words. It was like emoji after. I was like, I'm over these emoji communications here. You need to say something. If it does get hot and heavy, you've got to say, hey, let's pick up the phone. Hey, can
Right.
we call in 20 minutes? You've got to do that. You cannot fight over text, drama. And then also there's like, I mean, that's going to be in a text thread. It can be used against you if and when needed. So be careful. And I am grateful now that what you send, you can delete, where before you used to not completely delete. So there's that win to that. But I will say in dating, creating that beginning text banter is always kind of fun. It be a little time consuming. So listen, get to the date before you've spent 2 weeks text bantering. You can also see that kind of someone's like fun side on those text banters. And bantering is really an art, right? It's that fun communication, a little flirty. I mean, it's a good way to practice your flirt. And women have lost the art of flirting because we've gotten too appalled by men or annoyed by men or whatever. We are too busy with life. And so when you are doing the banter, be fun with things. I mean, I work with clients and these are amazing women, but I'll say things like, well, why don't you text him back and say, hey, cutie, like, I know your day is going great, but it's going to be better when I see you, heart, heart. And they're like, I would never say that. And I said, why not? That
Yep.
makes him excited to see you. Or I'm going to be wearing some high heels when I see you tonight. Like these women literally feel like they can't text that.
So what do they, I mean, is it just because they've had a bad response if they've sent that, or they don't know what that feels like to send something like that?
Right. A lot of them are stuck in corporate America. And so they can't get corporate America mindset. They can't take that off sometimes. So, they're used to like, well, that's really not, okay, Katie, I can't say. You can say that when you're dating. As a matter of fact, you should be saying those kinds of things when you're dating. So a lot of it's a corporate mindset, very business focused, and they're not good at flirting. So I get a lot of business women who come to me because they've kind of lost that artistic, feminine girl because they can't be that. When they bring that to business, it's like poo-pooed on. And again, I had a girlfriend the other day, I met her with dinner and she's like, Katie, I had a women's event all day. I wanted to wear this little, beautiful dress so we could all go out tonight to dinner, but she's thin, she's got a great body. And sadly, in corporate America, around men or women, if a thin woman with a great body wears a dress, it's considered inappropriate. If a large size woman wears the exact same dress, it's not inappropriate anymore, right? So corporate America women have some frustrations with like, how am I perceived? So again, through texting, it's this, how am I being perceived? Well, you are being perceived as fun and flirty, and that's the goal. So they have to practice it. And then sometimes I'll say, I'm going to give you an idea. and you're going to write your own from that. Like I have to get them to practice this flirting banter. For me, it comes up like that. I can think of something witty and fun of banter quickly. For a lot of people, they can't. And a lot of men aren't even just good at communicating, period. So getting them to be fun and banter is not easy as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's like they don't, or a lot of people can't take a compliment. If you compliment somebody, then that is awkward for a lot of people. And I mean, and if it's like not a real, but if it's like a genuine compliment, then I think that like those are things, and you're good at that. And I think I'm good at that. Like I like to compliment people and tell them, oh, they
Yeah.
look good. Strangers like, oh, I like your dress, or oh, you look pretty, or oh, I don't do it with men so much because like that's a little bit awkward, like
Yeah.
it's not so appropriate. But I definitely like to compliment people. And I think that that's something also that's kind of like a lost art. We're just so used to not necessarily communicating with people in a positive way. But I think it's something really nice. Like when someone tells you, a stranger, like, oh, I like your perfume or whatever it is, like it's a nice thing. And I'm sure that people ask you, what perfume you're wearing. People ask me all the time. They stop me and I'm like, oh, it's this or whatever. And and sometimes I feel awkward because like if they were to look it up, they'd be like, that's really expensive. And I'm like, oh, it was a gift. Like, I don't want to, it like, because it can be awkward sometimes when people say like, oh, I like what you're wearing, or I like that. And then they try to go get it. And you're like, yeah, it was a gift. I just try to play it off like not, as a little lighthearted, whatever. But yeah, I think giving compliments and texting, just keeping everything pretty much light and breezy. Everybody's just so
Yeah.
heavy, and like it gets it's exhausting, and like no one really. I don't have time for that. I don't.
Well, I just want to encourage people with football being in town. I know there's a lot of football widows, right? Season's been rough. Your husband's been busy. I will say 2 times my husband sat to watch the Cowboys, and both times, and I'm learning, I brought up something a little heavy. And the first round, he got upset. He's like, I just want to watch the game. And I was like, oh. And then second round, I said, baby, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring this up. Let's talk about it after the game. So I'm learning. But with the game coming up, let's talk about these games.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. I mean, having grown up in football, and everybody all season, this is really where you want to be. You want to be spending, the end of January, getting ready to go play in a football game. And if you can get to that place, that's a huge thing. So this weekend we've got the AFC, the two best AFC teams, and the two NFC teams competing against each other. And whoever wins each of these games will get a chance to go to Las Vegas, to where the first Super Bowl in Las Vegas is going to be February 9th. I think it's the 9th.
Amazing.
Sunday, whatever Sunday that is. So we have the Chiefs and the Ravens. And, obviously the Chiefs have been in the news lately because of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and so forth. So the conspiracy theorists all think that the Chiefs are going to win because everybody wants to see Taylor cheering for her man at the Super Bowl. But the Ravens are, I believe, a little bit of a better team. And so we'll see. It'll be a great game. And the Chiefs do not have the home field advantage. They have to travel to Baltimore. So that'll be interesting too, to see what happens, not on their home turf. And then in the NFC, we've got the 49ers, and they were in the NFC Championship game last year. They lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, which was a fun game if you're an Eagles fan, not if you're a 49er fan. And they're playing the Detroit Lions, and the Lions have never been
Right.
they've never been to the Super Bowl. They've never been this far in the playoffs. So the matriarch of the team is Mrs. Martha Ford. She was a Firestone before she became a Ford. So she's got a lot of pedigree in automotive for sure.
Right.
And she's still running the team. I mean, her daughter really runs it on the day-to-day stuff, but Mrs. Ford is somebody really lovely. And we were talking before the show, and my grandfather, when he owned the Eagles, was very good friends with Mr. Ford. And I had sent something, a donation to the Ford family when Mr. Ford died. Okay. And thinking, because it's just the right thing to do. Like I wrote a note, sent a donation, small, insignificant, nothing. And a few weeks later, I was going through the mail, and there was this tiny little envelope. Okay. Like you would have thrown it away, like a tiny little envelope.
Right. Right.
And I opened it up, And actually, because I had it framed, I saved it all because it was so special. This is the size of the envelope,
Okay.
handwritten. Okay,
Yep.
handwritten. Here's the note. Dear Marnie, how nice of you to write such a wonderful note about Mr. Ford. He was indeed a great friend of your grandfather and also a great admirer of his. He would have loved to have heard what you had to say about their friendship, as did I. Thank you for being so thoughtful and caring and writing to me and my family at this time. I am ever so grateful, Martha Ford.
Sweet.
So I framed it because I was like, you know what? Like, this is memorabilia for me. Like, this is human memorabilia. Like, I've got footballs and nice things and I appreciate them all. But this is something that, like, is a life lesson. Like, just do the
Right.
right thing. I wasn't expecting a note. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything, not certainly a handwritten note, maybe like a form letter from the Lions saying thank you for your donation.
Donation. Yeah.
Right. So that's something that I really treasure. And again, it's like my grandfather would say, civility is not a sign of weakness. So people really do pay
Mm,
attention to things, and being generous and thoughtful and making a difference really does matter.
I love that. Okay, so who are you putting your bets on?
Well, I have to go with the Lions because I really would love for them to get a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And I think the Ravens are a better team. I feel like Kansas City probably has, there's a lot of people pulling for Kansas City, but I believe it's going to be the Ravens and the Lions.
Okay, well, I'm going to go for the Lions as well. I mean, even though they beat us Cowboys,
Yes.
I still think it's a great story, and Detroit could use a little help. So
Yeah.
a little gusto for that. And I'm going to go for the Ravens as well. One of my clients, he is actually, gosh, and I'm losing my words this morning. He's the picker. He's the guy who chooses the draft. So he
Wow.
was one
Okay.
of my
So he's a
clients.
scout. He's a
Yeah,
scout
he's the
player.
scout. No, he's not the scout. He does the math to it.
All right. So like player personnel. I mean, there's like, yeah, they put
Like
in
the
all the,
scouts
yeah.
go out, he does all maybe it's a scout, but that's not what he said. It's like the Moneyball guy. What are they called?
Well, he's player personnel, so he works with the scouts and puts all the
Yeah.
data, whatever it is,
He's
in the
the
computer.
analytical data engineer, cute guy. I mean, multiple degrees, and he's always so proud of his picking. So I'm so excited. I'm rooting for the Ravens. Proud of him. He's single. So, ladies, if you're in your 30s, you want to marry an amazing man and you like football, hello, will you please reach out? Dating with Katie.
Oh, you're so cute, Katie. So yeah, so it'll be then after this weekend. Then there's next weekend. There's no football, the Pro Bowl and stuff like that, and then it's the big game. I'll be out there for a couple days in Las Vegas, and doing stuff. But
Love it.
yeah. So the season's over, but now we're getting into baseball, and I love baseball. So I'm very excited about that. That's, baseball it's an acquired taste of sorts because it's a little bit boring at times, but you have to just know that like
A
you're
little
gonna we'll go well, you've got the champs right in your backyard, Katie. The
We
Texas
do.
Rangers won the World Series. So we'll
They
go to
did.
we'll go to a Rangers game this year and it'll be
We'll
lots
do
of fun.
that. I
Yeah.
like that. And I
Yeah.
have an ex-ranger as an ex-client. So look at that. All these connections I'm making through you. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, in sports and, getting people to speak sports, which, is the universal language, I believe, helps everybody. So we can all connect and bond on sports. You might not be a huge fan of it, but just you can speak a little bit of it and it really does open so many doors and so much opportunity. So,
It
yeah,
does. It does.
yes.
Well, always great. Always insightful. I'm always taking my notes from you, girl. I love that we are helping people do life better. And I hope that you guys are all following us on Instagram, Game on XOTV.
Yep.
Email us, DM us. We're going to be checking that a lot easier. And then we will give you the notes and just follow us next week as well.
I'm going to put my Amazon list up there of all the things we talked about and go check it out. And, just remember, you can watch all of our shows, follow Katie, follow me on Instagram as well. If you have kids, get your Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog Game Day in the USA books. Learn a little bit about the cities, learn a little bit about football and friendship and traditions and things like that. And follow along with us. And we're your X's and O's cheerleaders for life's playbook.
Game on. All right.
Game
Until
on.
next week. See ya.
All right. Love you, Katie.
Bye.
Let's see if I can stop. Let's see if this time I can stop it.
Wait, I stopped mine.